So good morning and welcome to our newest edition of Admit Canada's Alumni Spotlight Series. I'm Cameron and I'm a content developer at Admit Canada, and today I'm here with Mario, the managing partner and founder of Admit Canada, and our client Cristobal, who currently attends the Ivey Business School at Western University in London, Ontario. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. Let's get started. So first off, why did you decide to come to Canada for your MBA?
Thank you, Cameron. Well, there were many reasons, really. So Canada had been on my pipeline and my wife's for quite a while. And we had kind of had some chit chat about it, about like potential for the future, whether it made sense to move somewhere else, like to have more doors open, I suppose. And Canada seemed always like a great option, right? It's not too far from our home country, which is Mexico. I think that it's a very welcoming country that gives you lots of possibilities for immigrants. So that was definitely a great thing as well. People are super friendly, and I have some family in, not in Ontario, but in other provinces, in Alberta and British Columbia. Now, a huge difference between Canada and most of the countries that offer an MBA is that, well, Canada actually wants students to stay here, right? So it offers lots of opportunities for people to stay in Canada, and the chances of getting a job and actually making a living here permanently are very high as compared to other countries such as the US or most European countries.
Yeah. So why did you choose Ivey specifically?
Many reasons, really. I was pretty much said that I was going to study in Canada, right? Originally, I wanted to study in another school. I think that there are many really good schools in Canada that are underrated, especially like in most of the rankings, right? They tend to favor US, some European countries. And it seems to me, like from research that I've done, many of the reasons are that the rankings are designed so that they favor people who go back to their home countries. And it was a very tough decision for me to go for Ivey at first. I was very set up for another school at the beginning. But after doing a lot of research, talking to people from both schools, from 3 different schools, I thought that Ivey was the best option for me for like here are the reasons. Number one, duration. This is not in particular order. So duration, I did not want to be 20 months in an MBA. I have been out of school for 7 years. So coming to a new country with my wife, there's a lot of costs, right? For 20 months, there's a lot of cost of opportunity also for being out of the job market for 20 months. I am very optimistic that the economy will be recovering. Well, it will be still recovering by the time I finish. There's going to be lots of opportunities, I believe. Then there is the case method. I'm not the kind of person who will enjoy being a lecturers all day for a year. So the case method is very practical. Like you have to prepare for it. You have to read the case. You have to prepare the case. If you have any doubt, like in the concept, traditionally the student will research about it. And the class, the professor is more a facilitator, right? He will encourage the conversation so that it goes through a certain path. From what the professors say, it's very different from what they have done earlier in other teaching methods, because every class is basically the same. Here the class, it depends a lot on how well the students prepare, how diverse the class is, how diverse the opinions are. So I think that's very rewarding and very, very interesting. Then again, from the conversation that I had from everybody, the class at Ivey is very close. Since you're not in a big city like Toronto or Vancouver or like even Calgary, people here don't know a lot of people. Like they might have a few like childhood friends. There's a couple of people who were born here. Less than 10% of the people were born and raised in London, Ontario. So everybody is here for the same reason, and everybody is here to meet each other. It's not like you have all of your friends and a lot of your life in another city. So it really brings us closer. It's like we are around 180 students. Around 25 of those are MBA directs, which they entered later in the process. And MBA directs are people who started the HVA at Ivey and then joined the MBA, usually between 2 and 4 years after graduating. What it is really a tight class. So every single week we are doing things together, like probably 3 times a week, even more for those who have the time. But every time there are activities, we are like networking, we are becoming close friends. And it's not like I'm just friends of the Latin people, friend like with everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's really great. Extending on that, the Ivey network is just as friendly. So if I reach out to somebody else who studied at Ivey, he will like very likely answer to me and be willing to have a coffee chat and like give me some insights, some recommendations, and like help me move on with next steps of my career. Then the living expenses that come from being in a smaller city, it's not like it's cheap, but it's much less expensive than Toronto or Vancouver. Also, well, it's a lot less to pay for 1 year than for 2 years of rent. And Ivey has a very good record of getting a job, which in the end is the reason why we're here, right? We want to get a high-paying job in Canada. So Ivey made a lot of sense in that regard for me. So many reasons, as you can see.
Yeah.
And I have a quick question, Cristobal. How many students are from Latin America?
There are very few, surprisingly. From Latin America, we are only 4 students. Like myself from Mexico, 1 from Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil. And I find that very surprising because there are like over 40 people from India, over 10 people from Nigeria that came like for Ivey, and they're so far away that I find it very surprising. Like very, very interestingly, Ivey is not that well known in Latin America, but it's really well regarded in Canada. It's like, depending on who you ask, but arguably it's the best school in Canada. Unarguably, like it's one of the top 3. Like I don't think many people can argue against Ivey being one of the top 3 business schools in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you tell us about your experience so far in the program?
Yeah. So we began on March. I think the experience began as early as November last year. I think this was a first attempt at doing this, but the recruiting team created a Slack channel for like all of the Ivey class. So we began networking since before November, really on Slack. On November kind of was when we felt like we were getting really close. So everybody started getting more active. Like there, everybody would introduce themselves. By the time we began classes, everybody knew who most people were. We had like at least 10 coffee chats with different people from the class. We had channels depending on our interests. You know, like some people like hiking, some people like biking, some people like football or finance or tech. So I think that was very, very interesting. By the end of February, like most of us came here by February. By the end of February, we have the PKP. PKP is like a preparatory knowledge program for those who have been outside of studying for quite a while, who do not have a business background, and like to prepare on quantitative methods on finance and economy, so that nobody's left behind once the classes begin. That was like, for me, that was more an opportunity to start getting to know my classmates more in a sort of virtual classroom experience, rather than just networking. I think that for most people that was really, really it. But once we began on March 5th-ish, like the classes changed a lot. Like you had to be preparing for cases every day. You had to be reading something different for every class, and that was very interesting because I feel like one of the things that Ivey prepares you for is that you have a lot of conversation material. Like for most interesting business cases, like we have gone through them throughout the program. We are very much encouraged to be reading news as well. So Western gives us access to many online magazines and newspapers. For example, usually the one that is most encouraged by more professors is the Financial Times. So I have had some very steep change in habits, whereas I didn't used to read newspapers that much. Now I do, not that much, but I still do quite a bit more than I did before. There is, like, for different classes, sometimes there's a book that they recommend you to read, like not as a textbook. There is a textbook, but it is usually not mandatory. But it will be very important for getting it right in the classes, for actually being the kind of person who can bring the conversation forward. And we have gone through core 1, which is like pretty general business courses, and some leadership courses as well, kind of communicating, leadership, etc. Then in core 2, people will get like some operations, some technology courses, which also kind of make a lot of sense. Like in the modern world, it's a bit more specialized. And that's when the MBA directs that I mentioned before, like, join. They have their own class because they already had pretty much the same classes. So they just take a refresher for most of them. And then we start on electives. We just finished last week the elective period. And that's when we can actually get to choose what courses we want to take. That's usually when you will get, I guess, paired in a way with people who have more interest in common with you. Most of the people are going for kind of consulting. Ivey is very big for consulting. This year was actually like a record high in getting MBBs. Traditionally, like 1 or 2 students get a McKinsey. This year, I believe that 5 different students got an offer from McKinsey. The same goes for Bain. Usually 1 or 2 students get this year. At least 4 people got. For BCG, I think it was lower, but it was still higher than the average. There's a lot of pressure for recruiting, especially for those who are going for fall recruiting. That is not my case. So I've had different struggles, I suppose. Kind of sometimes feeling the pressure that I should really start recruiting. I should really start networking, because I see that so many of my classmates have already gotten a job. Like, still missing 8 months for the program. They had already gotten a job, but I have to like focus. No, you want just in time. This is not the industry that you want. This is not the job you're looking for. So it's been quite interesting, but really enjoyable. Like, when anybody asks me how you've liked the program so far, like, it's without a doubt I would do it again. I've liked it quite a lot. Meeting a lot of great people. London is quite nice. I mean, it's not Toronto. It's not like a large city. Not like there's so many things to do. But since we are here with 160 people that are in the same situation as us, like, it's really quite enjoyable, at least at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned a few of the struggles you've had. Can you sort of expand on those challenges you've experienced so far, like at the beginning of the program or now?
Yeah. So the first one was getting used to like the case method and to coming back to school, right? As I mentioned earlier, I had been for more than 7 years I was out of school, so there had been like that struggle. I did have a little bit of case method before, like in my undergrad, but only like very few. So it has been quite challenging to get used to this. Most of the work is pre-work more than homework. So in many programs, you get a lot of homework, like what you're expected to bring for the next, like after the class. Here it's pre-work, but it's basically reading the case, reading some news sometimes regarding that. Usually you're not encouraged to read what happened on that case, but it's good to know more about the industry as a whole, right? Because it's going to allow you to bring more into the table in terms of conversation. But getting used to read that, I am traditionally a person who likes to read. I enjoy reading, like both fiction and nonfiction. I enjoy reading business books quite a lot. But it's different here because like you're forced to read so much. Like some classes you have to read 10 pages, but for some days you have to read like at least 50 cases of like four cases, and then you have to go through the exhibits. You have to go through the like balance sheets of several companies. That is not a strength for me. I'm not like a finance guy or an accounting guy. So that has been that was a struggle for me. But in the end, once you reach the end of the class, at some point you are not sure like how much you learned. But once you're doing the actual exam, you're like, wow, I actually learned a lot. Like I can have these deep conversations and these deep papers about what this company could have done different in terms of accounting rules that I didn't think I like. It was not in my priorities for doing MBA, right? But it's really interesting to see once you get there. I am here with my wife. I mentioned that also. So it's like sometimes you have to juggle between several different responsibilities, right? So you have school, you have preparing for recruiting, like career management. Ivey has a really good career management, but there is often more work for career management. So you would usually have to get prepared for your next career management meeting. Like, what do you want to do in the next step, right? You want to do more networking? Okay, then come with very specific questions about like how you improve with this. Ideally, even come with your outreach message so that we can work on it. So it's very easy to get distracted. And I guess that has been one of my struggles as well. Very easy to get distracted, like get into something else that is not a priority. There are so many things going on, so many events, that if you don't set your priorities straight, like, okay, my number one goal from the MBA is the networking, meeting people and getting a job. Okay, then really focus on that. Don't worry too much about perhaps the case competitions, right? They are great. They are actually also pretty fun to be in, but maybe if it's not your priority, you should not focus on that. You should not use your energy on something that is not your priority and that will distract you from your others. Most of the people who already got a job, their priority was to get like a job in banking or in consulting. So they did a lot of work on that. They did a lot of case prepping, like a lot of case prepping, a lot of networking. Like they talked to a lot of people at the different firms that they wanted to recruit in. And many of them got a very good, high-paying job in consulting that they wanted to. I do not want consulting right now because at this stage in my life, it is not the best fit for me. I believe, but focusing on the right things is definitely being a struggle. What else? I think those have been like the main struggles, like juggling between responsibilities. Getting used to the case method and not getting distracted by all the stimuli that is going on around us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cristobal, just to give our viewers an idea, how many cases you have to go through during the program?
During the program, I'm not sure exactly how many cases, but I'm pretty confident that more than 500.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for most classes, you are going to have to prepare for a case. Like we basically have like over 200 days of class. It's a pretty compressed program. It used to last for 2 years. 10 years ago or so, they compressed it into 1 year, but it still has like 85% of the same touch points. So you do not get a lot of time off. For example, this week was kind of a week off from class, but that doesn't mean it's a week off. There is this thing called the Ivey Field project. There are two different streams. One is you can do consulting for a company, or you can do a new venture project, right? I'm doing a new venture project. And this week is really designed to give us time to focus on that project, because otherwise it would be like almost impossible. Like during recruiting and during classes and during like so many other things that are going on around us. But for every class, like for 90% of the classes, you have to read a case. And during the first 6 months, we have class basically every day, like from Monday to Friday. We only have like 1 week off, maybe 2 weeks off if you include like some Fridays off and stuff. But you have to read one case for every class, and you have 3 classes a day. So yeah, it's a lot of cases.
Yeah, a lot of cases.
Yeah. So how do you find your time to balance, I guess, school and then these job searching activities, especially when this program is so short and compressed? How do you find time to balance everything?
That's a great question. I don't know. I guess in some way you don't really have a choice. So yeah, so you just let it happen and it balances itself. No, but like more seriously, setting priorities straight, right? So you can't do everything. There was a week 2 weeks ago when every single day from Monday to Sunday there was some social activity, every single day, and I was said like, yeah, no, I want to be like in all the social activities, because like that's when the fun happens. That's when you make the connections with the classmates. But by Thursday, I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do this every week. I mean, I had already committed for that week, so I did, and it was very fun. But you have to decide when you can and where you can't go to like a party or to some social event or whatever there is. You have to be very efficient at how you read cases. Like at the beginning, you're going to be reading every case like from the beginning to the end, and then the exhibits. By the end, you're going to be skimming through them. So you're gonna identify how to not read all of it, but still find every key point that is going to be important for the class and for this particular case. That usually doesn't happen on the first few classes of each course. But once you get the hang of it, like for example, for the technology course, maybe at the beginning you still have to get how the conversation is going to revolve around the case. But for the 5th, 8th class, you have a pretty clear idea on what you need to focus on from each case. Like what is important to make the decision. That's kind of one of the main things for Ivey is how to make a decision with a limited amount of information that you can get. So I think that if you go through everything, you are going to have to sacrifice other things. And for me, my priority is like my wife, my social life, and getting a job afterwards, right? So the networking. I am not interested, for example, in being the top 25% of the students in terms of grades, right? I still want to do good. I don't want to be the bottom 25% either, for sure. I do still want to do good, but I'm more like in good enough on this, but very good at the other stuff. You can't do everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you say your favorite class has been so far in your program?
My favorite class. There's really been a lot of classes that I liked. Maybe I mentioned the technology one a few times, so it might make sense that is one. But lately, I would say it is new vendor creation. It's one of the electives. So there are not many specializations at Ivey. Like it's a general MBA, but there are still many electives that you can take to really custom make your last half of the program. For me, I'm doing the entrepreneurship stream, which basically is one of the only certificates that you can get, right? There's that certificate in entrepreneurship. And there are 3 classes that I have to take along with others. This first period of electives, I took new venture creation. And for me, like I'm into entrepreneurship, I'm into like tech innovation, that kind of stuff. So it made sense that I would go for that. But I really enjoyed event creation. So basically every course, even for some of the electives, by the way, you would have to read two cases for each class. So it gets tougher at some point. Then there is like the Ivey cases that are usually like a 6 to 8 page. And then there's the Harvard cases that are usually like 20, 25, even 30 pages. So that's fun. Anyway, back to your question. Yeah, I would say event creation, because for every class, we would like analyze a different situation of a company that either succeeded or did not succeed. Like not every situation like has a happy ending. That's interesting. Of course, not every venture has a happy ending, but everybody knows that. But it's also good to actually study those from both sides. Like what made it fail, right? Like it had a great idea, they had a good customer base sometimes, and why did it fail? What or when something went wrong that made the venture fail. Along with the studies, we're like reading a book like from plan A to plan B, which was also very, very like insightful for how the conversation went and for how the class went. So yeah, I would think venture creation. For many people have said the negotiations. I haven't had that one yet. That's what like one of the most famous courses at Ivey. Everybody signed up for that one. But yeah, I'm doing negotiations later on. Like that's the only class that you can get at different elective periods.
Okay, so I wanted to sort of get into the application process and talk about that and get some advice you might have. So let's start with, what were your main challenges that you faced during the application process, and how did you overcome those?
So this is going to seem like a trend now, but focusing, like really focusing into the application was my first struggle. I had thought about applying for an MBA, like only as a thought, right? Not really as a priority or anything, for like a couple of years prior. But for example, I purchased my GMAT books, like study books, and in December of 2019 now. I was like, yeah, so I'm now really going to focus on this. Like by February, I still hadn't really, I had opened them, but I hadn't really done anything to prepare. So I signed up for a like group class, for GMAT prep. It was okay, but it was not great. Like I think like for the money, it was a little bit disappointing. I honestly expected like a lot better prepping. You can find amazing tools online, and like by halfway through the program, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna do. So I began doing some, like on my end. I started with some online tools. I got into like GMAT Club is a very good website for prepping, for like getting to see what people are struggling with. You're gonna see some interview questions. You're gonna see you get a lot of help from the community at GMAT Club. It's a blog basically. And so once I started studying on my own with some other tool, I think it's Empower MBA, something like that. I started improving like a lot faster. Focusing was a big thing for me. Then for the application process itself, there's a lot of doubt, right? So you read the essay questions, and you start thinking about, okay, what do I have in my experience that would be the best answer for this? You naturally start thinking about what they want to hear. And although that is certainly an important question, like you obviously want to make something that people are going to be interested in reading, the most important question is, what do you feel that represents, like from you, the best way that specific question, right? This is like, you're going to hear this everywhere, like be yourself, but that is the truth, right? These schools, what they want are unique people. If everybody thought the same way, then the MBA would have no point. It would just be a regular master's degree where you like take a course and that's it. You could basically do it online. You could read that on Wikipedia or wherever you want. But the main reason for an MBA is the people, is the networking, is the conversation that happens inside and outside the classroom. So be yourself at every stage of the application. Figure out your own best way of studying for the GMAT. There are different methods, different things work for everybody. For some people, it's literally they go through the whole like GMAT book. I get very easily distracted, so that doesn't work for me. But this online tool worked pretty well for me. I could just work on that for an hour every day for a few weeks, and I increased my GMAT quite a bit in a short amount of time. I did not get into the 700s. I think that I could have if I had studied a bit more, if I had been able to focus a bit more. But I still had like something good enough to be accepted in like the top, what I consider at least to be the top 3 business schools in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess you sort of already touched on the advice you'd offer, but what are your plans for the future post MBA? You're almost done your program, I guess. So what are your plans?
I'm still pretty open about some things. It's hard to say like where I see myself in the next 5 years if I'm not really sure what I'll be doing a year from now. I of course have some ideas of what I want to do. For example, I want to continue working in tech for sure. In the short term, at least, I don't want anything that is like too startup. I don't want anything too early stage. I'm moving to a new country with a family. My main focus in the short term is like some stability, some getting used to this new country, this new life, like new culture. There are many things differently than they are done in Mexico. So in 5 years, I'm not sure if I want to continue working at a company, like, at a tech company. Hopefully, like on a, I have 2 main options there. So it can be like a senior marketing role or a senior customer development role. I am still trying to define some things there. I like both. And then one of the main reasons for wanting marketing is I like to understand how people think, how people respond to certain stimuli, and like customer development is pretty similar on that regard. Like what are the needs, right? Or I can like start some venture. Like that's why I'm doing all this new venture creation and like entrepreneurial finance course, and then like managing company. Like there's a lot of things that are aligned for that. So hopefully in 5 years I will be either in a tech company at a senior position, most likely a not huge company, but I don't know, we'll see. Or like heading my own tech company, online based for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, I've covered all of the questions. Is there anything you want to ask Mario, or is anything else?
No, I think we cover everything. Cristobal, is there anything else that you might think that could be valuable to our viewers about your experience coming to Canada? I still believe that it's a great opportunity. And coming to Canada, I think most people, as you were saying, they choose I don't know, Europe, the US, and I think if they do some research about Canada, the schools that we have here, I think they will be surprised. So I don't know if you want to comment on anything on that, or anything else that you believe that could be valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So for studying in Canada, I really do recommend it. So the people here, I mean, everywhere else that you do an MBA, most likely the people there that you talk to are going to be like great people who want to learn, who want to meet more people. So most likely there's going to be something in common in that way. But Canada is such a welcoming country. So many opportunities around here. Sometimes you hear that you can't get a job if you don't do an MBA if you don't have a degree here. That is not necessarily true. It surely does help a lot, but there's going to be a lot of things that change, like if you decided to do an MBA in Canada, right? So networking here is a big thing. If in Mexico somebody asks me, hey, would you be willing to go to Starbucks and have a coffee chat because I want to just like chat about somebody random that writes to me on LinkedIn? I don't know. I might, but I might also be like, yeah, I'm not sure. Here it's common. Like it's pretty safe generally to walk at night. It's pretty safe country. If you're scared about the cold, don't be. Like you really get, like at least in this part of like probably in Ottawa, Mario can like say it differently, but here in Southern Ontario, you get really like 4 months, 3-4 months of pretty cold for sure. It's very humid, so you're gonna get 3-4 months of really cold, but the rest of it it's pretty surprisingly warm. So you get 33 degrees. You get very surprisingly for me, you go to the like lakes, and the lakes have pretty decent beaches. So I mean, it's coming from somebody who used to go to like Cancun beaches and stuff, right? So I mean, it's not bad for sure, but some pretty decent stuff. Lifestyle is so much easier in many ways. And I think that's one of the reasons why you can focus more on your stuff. You also don't need to worry so much about other things, right? Like security. You're not all the time worrying about whether something can happen to you or to your family. It's pretty safe. Like things happen as everywhere else, for sure. But you can focus on what you want to do. Like you can focus on the future. You can focus on building. Canada basically needs more people to come. Canada's strategy for recovering from the economy depends a lot on immigration. And what better immigration than people who come to study, who get a degree. It doesn't have to be an MBA, but who get a degree in Canada, who are prepared for the economy, for the job market. And you have very good chances of coming to a country that will welcome you, that is going to have a lot of more people like you. That is very enriching also to have so many people different from you. So it's very international. So it's very fun to be meeting people from all parts of the world, to be learning about their points of view, about their culture, about their lives prior to, and even here, like how it differs or how it's in common. But I'm sure that if anybody decides to come to Canada, you're not going to regret the decision. And it's really a lot of fun.